Welcome back to the channel, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching this video. Today I think I have something special. I have a 1980 XR75. I feel like a lot of you might relate to this bike because this is probably something that you started riding when you were little, and this is where your dirt bike career took off. But yeah, so pretty much this bike is in pieces. A good friend of mine dropped it off. He asked me to put it back together and I said, no problem, let's do it. So I'm gonna show you all the pieces that I have. There's really not that much because back in the day there was just less parts on the bike. And I'm gonna show you what I have, put it together, fire it up, take it out for a spin. And here's the bike itself. This thing is in pretty good condition for a 1980. There's, I feel like there's really not many of these out there in this type of condition. But everything's pretty much original from what I can tell. I mean, other than some of the controls, maybe this bar, but overall, just like the condition of it is really, really nice. A little dusty from sitting around, but I feel like everything is here. Over here, I have some spare parts. We have a brand new carburetor, spark plug, bolts, fuel filters, shift lever. Actually, this is a kickstart. So, and then over here we have another cover. And here's looks like the original carburetor. We got the carb boot. Looks like we have cable right here. I don't know, throttle. So we got the throttle cable right here. Over here we have the rear wheel, brand new sprocket. And then look at this tank, really good condition. Metal. I am just going to make sure I clean out the inside of this. I'm sure there's some really old gas in there. Make sure we don't have any rust. Over here we have the kickstand. We got the rear brake, the original seat, no rips. So overall, pretty good condition. All right, and over here we have the engine. Overall, really good condition. This was already gone through at a shop. Looks like there were no oil, so that's good to know before I try to fire it up. Make sure it's not dry. We'll put some oil in there. And yeah, I'm trusting that the shop did a good job, but I will check a few things, make sure we're all good. And yeah, I think it looks pretty good. All right, so let's get started. Let's put this thing together and hopefully fire it up. All right, so we made it this far. Got it put back somewhat together. Looks good from far away, but yeah, a couple things. So the situation here on the rear wheel, there should be a spacer here, but it looks like a giant nut was used before. So I couldn't find anything that actually is a spacer in the parts bin, so I reused this nut. Another thing is also on this side, the spacer is there. I did find that one. But the wheel is on. I just kind of have it tightened by hand. Not gonna drive it yet. And then this exhaust actually had to be put on earlier. So before the wheel's put on, you have to put the exhaust on because it actually goes on the inside of the shock. It wraps around and goes into the engine. And another thing I had to figure out was actually that mount right there where you see the clutch cable. Pretty much, I had no idea how it's supposed to be routed, and then I figured out that it's actually mounted to the frame there. And so yeah, I got that figured out. So the other thing is this carb. I cleaned it out, you know, made sure everything is working. But when you put it on, this choke lever is actually supposed to be on the other side, but then it would be in the frame here, it would be touching it. So there's no way for you to, you know, to flick it on and off because it would just be touching. So I actually had to take it back apart right here, super easy, and just flip it out to the outside. So if you want the choke on, flick it down. When you're done, flick it back off. So with these aftermarket carbs, I'm not really familiar with them, you know, if they work good or not, but it looks pretty good. It's very clean inside. So we'll see if the bike runs good, we'll leave it on there. If not, we'll have to figure something out with the original one, which is pretty crusty, but you know, if we have to, I'll dive into that. Another thing is I do have a new throttle cable, but it's actually too short. So I put the old one back on. You can see that the throttle sticky, it doesn't want to come back, so I just think it's just really old. A new one would be super nice. Same thing with the clutch. It's a little tight, but the clutch does work. The other thing is I did not prep the gas tank yet, so I just got this little liner here that I had and I threw it on there and I fed some fuel through there so it's ready for startup. I'm gonna clean up the gas tank here once I get a chance. Another tough thing was actually putting this engine in the frame, just because it's so awkward. You know, you have your mounting points here, but there's no frame underneath. So you can't just slide the engine in, leave it in there, and, you know, slowly start cranking on the bolts. You actually have to have it held by something, propped up, slide the bolts through. So it was tough by myself, but, well, it wasn't too bad. But just something new that I've never done, putting an engine into this type of bike. So without further ado, I am ready to start kicking this bike over, seeing if it fires up. And if it does, I think we can move on to putting the rest of this thing back together. All right, so I checked the spark. Spark is good. The spark plug was actually wet. So fuel's getting in there. I actually added more fuel to the carburetor, so let's see if that helps. Wow. Well, that worked, except it's wide open. Let's try that again. Me controlling it with the kill switch. All right, so anyway, I think I figured it out. It's this cable. It has to be, because I started messing with it. As soon as I started to tighten it or untighten it, things were just changing. Then I got it to the point where it was not revving out completely, but as soon as this cable was touched, it just exploded and started revving out. So I'm gonna try to source a cable. I'm hoping Rocky Mountain has one that's a direct replacement, because the one I have, it's actually that one on the floor, it's way too short. So it doesn't really work for this bike. And I'm still praying and hoping this carburetor is good. It sounds like it because when I got it idling, it was perfect. So I'm just really hoping that it's the cable. All right, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap up this video right here. I kind of threw everything back on, the seat, the tank, and that little fender there. It's actually nothing is bolted down, but just kind of wanted to see what it looks like. Still, I think we are missing the rear fender, but anyways, so this thing does run, actually runs really good. The engine sounds really nice. Nothing clanking around, so it's pretty smooth. So I am definitely going to order up a new throttle cable, new clutch cable, some new fuel line. I do have some, but it's just too big. These bikes are a little bit smaller. And yeah, so I have a feeling that this carburetor is going to be okay, but we will see once the new cable is here. But anyway, so stay tuned for the next video. I think that's whenever I'm going to take it out for a little rip, see how it runs. Hopefully everything's going to be good. And yeah, so stay tuned for the next one, and thanks for watching.